I said to him, did I ever give up? And he said, only once. I said, oh, when was that? Like I'd completely forgotten. It was 2 weeks of crippling pain, day and night. I remember I went to ICU for this because the pain from it was unbearable, and it would go all through the night. I would be hooked up to so many drugs and chemo and bits and pieces, so still going through chemo. He said he remembers he walked in one day and I just turned the other way. I didn't speak, didn't say anything, and he knew that it was really bad. I ended up having to have a drug every 12 hours, so 6 a.m. in the morning, 6 p.m. at night. This went on for 3 weeks, and every time I had the drug, I vomited and felt unbelievably sick for probably about 4 hours afterwards. So the respite time in between was awful, and this went on for 3 weeks, every day. And I had completely forgotten about it. So it's amazing what our brains can do, until Sam reminded me last night. I also had another one, CMV, which was also not very pretty. So anyway, these are just some thoughts around reflecting 2 years on, I guess, and how much of a wild ride that was, but also how far I've come, and what are the things that I've done to get to this point, and what do I want you guys to know, because honestly, without your health, you've got nothing. When your health goes, then that's it. Just your life can turn around in a flash. So the first question, can you take us back to the moment you first heard the words, you have cancer? So I can't even remember dates and stuff now. It's almost like I've kind of blocked them out, blanked them. I wouldn't know the years or whatever. I don't know exactly how long I was in it for when people ask me. What I do know is when I first got diagnosed with breast cancer, I was a complete mess. I didn't have any tools in my box to handle that amount of pressure. I'd spent a lot of my life using alcohol as a way of coping without even realizing it. I didn't realize that that's what I did. I didn't realize that when something sad happened, I drank. When something happy happened, I drank. When something was worth celebrating, I drank. When I was angry or annoyed, I drank. So for me, I knew straight away that I didn't want to drink, which is really interesting in itself. But I had to learn the tools in my box, and my sister got me to do a breathwork, and that was the start of it all, really, from Sarah from Breathe Free. And breathwork, I've now learned, allows you to release any emotional trauma that you have. So I was able to really zone in on, getting that emotional stuff that was sitting there and releasing it. And that was the start of me being able to think clearer, to make decisions better, and to, I guess, tackle cancer how I wanted to. Next question, what was I most afraid of in those early days? The inevitable, dying. I had 2 kids, 2 young girls at the time, and I didn't want to leave them. I was 41 or something. I had so much of my life ahead to watch these beautiful girls grow up, and I didn't want to leave them, and I knew that right from the start. That was my massive motivator. and I didn't want to leave Sam. Like, and I had an incredible relationship up to that point, and that's all I could think about. I remember that was my only thoughts, was my family, and there was no way that I was leaving them. So right from the start, I had this kind of, I will beat this kind of attitude. I had breast cancer, and then the leukemia came just 2 months later. What got me through breast cancer is that I needed to learn other tools other than alcohol to get me through. I followed people that were really positive during their cancer treatments, and that really helped. I researched everything, so I left no stone unturned, and that was a really powerful and incredible experience for me. So yeah, after the breast cancer, 2 months afterwards, I went in for a routine blood test. The short of it all is they rang me to say that my bloods had come in and they were concerned that I had leukemia. They were doing some extra tests, which they did, and confirmed that yes, I had leukemia. And I remember just rocking in the bushes, just having no idea. I guess that for me was the bit where I was really afraid that this was it. It's come back. This, how do I get through this? And at the start, they told me it was going to be the type that was not great. So yeah, once again, I was forced to go and look at other ways, more tools to get through, I guess. And I threw myself into a guy called Joe Dispenza and his meditations and his way of healing and looking, and I just didn't want it. I just knew I didn't want to go. Like, this was not my time to go. I had so much to give, and I knew that I could beat this. So I decided that I was the miracle, that no matter what the doctors said, that was not going to be me. One of the questions that I always get asked is, how did I keep going as a mum? I almost had to check out of being a mum in some ways. Like, there was so much time in hospital, and because it was COVID and my girls were not the right age, they weren't allowed to come into the ward. There was a whole lot of guilt around not parenting my girls in that time. That was really hard, because I couldn't be there for them on lots of moments when it felt like it really mattered. And that's one of the hardest things about going through cancer, I guess. It consumes you. And what I needed to do to get through it wasn't necessarily the right thing to do for my girls, but it had to be done. I was really fortunate that I had my sister, Sam's parents, my family would come up from Christchurch, and we had an amazing nanny at the time, Georgie, who, looked after my girls. But there's still times now I look back and I know there's nothing I can do, but it's hard. It's hard to know that, for a couple of years there, I almost checked out as a mum. I didn't have a choice. I definitely did stuff to make sure in those moments with the girls that there was joy and there was fun and all of that kind of stuff, but there was definitely some really hard points. Was there a specific moment that I realised I couldn't go back to the life I had before? There wasn't a specific moment. It just gradually became more apparent as I went through both the breast cancer and then leukemia. And I always say, I feel like someone up there gave me leukemia because they knew that I was going to go back to some of my old habits. And now I guess I can safely say that I feel like it's changed for the better. Well, it absolutely has. I thank cancer for that every day. I know that some people don't get to do that. There's that little bit of survivor's guilt, I guess. But I turn that around as well and I say, well, I'm here for those that couldn't be, speaking up and doing this sort of stuff. What did cancer teach me about myself that I didn't know before? Where do I even start? I had no idea how important your health is. We all should know that our health is the most important thing, but we don't. We do stuff constantly, day in, day out, that we know is not good for our health, but we still do it. It taught me about my people-pleasing ways, my nervous system, how to meditate, how to do breath work, how to use so many tools that I just didn't have before, and now I do. And I'm so incredibly grateful that when life hits me hard now with other bits and pieces, because life always has hard things. There's always things going on in your life, that I don't react in that fight or flight mode, that I have the ability to get through it using the tools that I've got now. Is O Studio a product of this new version of me? Absolutely. I remember walking up the stairs from the hospital thinking, I really want to do something in wellness. I want people to understand and realise that you need to do stuff before the bottom of the cliff. You need to start looking after yourself and your health and your nervous system, and stop glorifying the busyness. So much stuff is related to health that we could have done better earlier on in our lives. What do I want people to know about healing and well-being before they're in a crisis? I guess I just spoke about that, but start changing habits. The habits that you know are not good for you. I can meditate, I can do breath work, I can go to saunas, ice baths, floats, all the stuff that we're going to have at O Studio. That's the stuff that regulates your nervous system. These are things that we need to be doing on a regular basis. And here at O Studio, I know that we're going to provide that for so many people. Professional athletes, burnt out mums, burnt out dads, people that overwork, people that feel like they need to be busy on a regular basis, that the thought of doing a meditation and sitting still and not doing anything, that you are the people that would really benefit. I have got one message for all of you out there, and I swear, if you put those things in place to help you to slow down, nothing's more important than your health. And slowing down and giving yourself some time and some space, I think, would be incredible. And here at O Studio, we've got that sanctuary, that place for you.